Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video you'll see me building my version 2 of the Ghettoblaster. So as you can see here, I'm installing the speakers, the two 6.5-inch speakers. First measure the diameter of the speaker and mark the appropriate holes on the box itself. You first want to mark out the beginning and end of the speaker and then the center line horizontally, and do the same vertically. Some of you will probably comment on using more appropriate supplies, but this was a quick build and this took me probably 2 hours to build. So there are a lot of marks here, but the point is to get everything centered properly. And in this case, I used the coaster to draw out the outline of the speaker, but the best way of doing this, if you have one at home, is to use a compass. By using a compass you can draw an exact circle and get a better cut without having to trim as much. Now I'm mounting the 8-inch subwoofer. Again, I'm measuring the diameter of the subwoofer itself, and make sure that you're measuring the inner diameter instead of the outer diameter. The outer diameter includes the stamped end of the frame, which you don't want to cut out, otherwise the subwoofer would fall completely through the enclosure. Here I used a paper plate, but like I said, using a compass would be a lot better for drawing out the outline of the subwoofer. Here I'm using a multi-tool to cut out the speaker holes. If you use a jigsaw, be careful because this is a very brittle plastic, and if you cut too hard or jar the plastic too hard, it will crack. Don't ask how I know about this. If anyone has any suggestions on how to better cut plastic like this, please comment below. As you can see, I struggled a little bit cutting out the subwoofer hole because the top of the container is not flat, because I have to cut through two different sections of the container itself. Now here I'm using a knife to clean off all the edges. A file would be better if you have one on hand. And now here I'm test fitting the speakers. As you can see, they're not quite big enough, so I'm going to try cutting out more of the plastic so that they will fit properly. If you use a compass, you'll less likely have an issue with this, but it's not unusual to have to trim the plastic to make sure that your speakers fit properly. Don't worry about the edges not looking very pretty, because this will all be hidden behind the speaker. Now a little bit of cleanup, and I'm testing again to see the fitment of the subwoofer. As you can see, it's still a little bit off, so I'm just tracing out the areas that need to be cut a little bit more. Again, excuse the messiness, but this was a quick build. If I were to build this speaker again, I would probably have used a slightly larger container so I wouldn't have to worry about the lip on top that made it more difficult to cut out. So here you see that the front speakers also needed some additional cutting as well. And now another test fit to see if they actually fit. As you can see, it needs a little bit more trimming on the left speaker, and hopefully this does the trick. Now I'm cleaning up the edges again since I cut some more material out. And this just helps with the speaker to seal better, especially with such hard plastic like what this container is built out of. So now that the speakers fit properly, it is now time to mark the holes for mounting the speaker. Here I marked 4 areas to be drilled out, which should be sufficient, but you could always mark locations for all holes if you prefer. For the subwoofer, I decided to use all mounting holes because the subwoofer produces a lot more vibrations than the 6.5-inch speaker. Now I'm drilling out all the holes for the speakers. And here I have some foam insulation tape that I bought at a hardware store. This is probably not the best solution, but it works well enough for this situation. And if you put your hand next to the speaker, there's actually no air coming out near the speaker. Now I do the same with the 8-inch speaker, 8-inch subwoofer. And don't forget to move the paper, protective paper, on the other side of the foam. And I'm using some bolts from the hardware store to mount this subwoofer. However, as you can see, the holes are too small for the bolts, so now I have to drill them a little bit wider so that the bolts will actually fit. And unfortunately, it still didn't fit, so I still had to take another drill bit and drill out the holes a little bit bigger again. Now I'm mounting the subwoofer to the container with these bolts and nuts, tightening them down. They don't have to be very tight, but tight enough to create a seal between the speaker and the container. Now I'm doing the same thing for the 6.5-inch speakers. And also I put some foam tape on top of the enclosure as well, so that the lid will help seal better with the top of the container. Like I said, this is probably not the best solution, but it's cheap and it seems to work pretty well. Secure all the screws. Like I said, I use 4 screws here, but you can always use more if you prefer to. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, subscribe, share if you like this video. I'll see you in the next video where we do all the wiring for the Ghettoblaster. See you next time.